Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. My name is Sia Nejad. I'm about to bring in the stars of the show. Before I do that, I got to read something from James Rainwater in the chat. He says, "Oh, how I've missed the Early Edge fam. Glad I'll be here for today's show. I hope everyone has been filling those pockets. Let's have a great Thursday." That is a good message to start the show with. Let's see if we've been filling those pockets, because lately we haven't been. But today we have a very good recap screen. I ruined the perfect score with my golf pick. We go 6-1, buckets 2 for 2. Mike hits his, Mikey B hits his. SportsLine picks go 2-0. I will say, while I did lose my round 1 golf bet, I gave out 4 outrights in the SportsLine Discord and, of course, on Twitter. 2 of those, one's in first place at 45-1. The other one's in third place at 100-1. So those are looking good. And the tournament matchup I gave out, just in case anybody took that and needs the update, we're up 1 shot on that one. So not all bleak when it comes to golf. Let's bring in the stars of the show and get the show started, because we've got a lot to talk about. We got some hockey picks, some college basketball, but this is going to be a big Thursday night football show with Propstarz, Larry Hartstein, Will Brinson, Mike McClure. Will, I got to start with you. You're not always with us on these primetime games, but I'm glad we've had you the last couple. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing great. Beautiful Thursday. Little Tampa, Atlanta matchup on a Thursday night. Who could ask for more? 41.5 point total, right?
Yeah, I mean, Larry, it's interesting. These two teams, I think a lot of people had high expectations for both of these teams. Both of them have been really bad over the last 4 to 6 weeks. Your thoughts, like in terms of vibes with Tampa coming into this game against Atlanta?
Well, I'm about to lose another showdown, this one with Uncle Dave on the Falcons season win total, unless they win out, which seems very unlikely with Kirk Cousins and no Drake London. But the initial look for most people, I think, looking at this game is this is a rivalry game. It's usually close. The Bucs haven't covered 5 straight games. Something seems to be wrong with their offense. Take the Falcons. But one of the worrying things about that game, if you really watch that game against the Seahawks, where they were in it early, and then when things unraveled, there wasn't a lot of effort trying to chase down JSN on some of those after the catch runs. It looked like the defense has kind of given in a little bit and dealing with a lot of injuries. So I'm staying away from the side.
Proppy, I know you're just a prop guy. You've got a prop for this show, not for this game, but for Sunday. And I know we've got the prop show tomorrow at 3 o'clock that, everybody can watch live on this SportsLine YouTube channel. With that said, do you have a lean on a side or a player that you love going into tonight?
It's a tough one, as both Larry and Brinson mentioned. Both these teams have not been playing well recently, despite their records being somewhat far apart from each other. They both played very poorly and inconsistently. The Bucs have been a disappointment, particularly recently. I think the injury bug really has started to catch up to them after getting off to a hot start. They have certainly cooled off. Baker's cooled off. Getting some reserves back tonight, and Jalen McMillan and Mike Evans, though, might help the passing game, which has really sputtered recently. So I lean the Bucs way, considering it's a must-win game for them after losing last week to New Orleans and atop the division at just 7-6. So I would hope to see a strong effort and a bounce-back performance from this Bucs team if they have any hopes of really contending and ultimately winning the division.
Let's get to some picks. Mike, your first pick is very unique. I'm very excited to hear about it. But first, I am Thorbs in the chat. He says, "Sia, as my father figure, no offense taken, can you stop me from putting my life savings on Dylan Drummond props tonight?" Of course, that is a third, fourth tier receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. We know Drake London is out. We know we'll hear about Kyle Pitts later in the show, how he's going to be the primary target. Darnell Mooney not getting much work. So David Sills, Dylan Drummond, their props, I'm looking at them right now in the 19 to 22 yardage range. Tell you what, if anybody has takes on either of these two guys later in the show, I want to hear about it. But for now, Mike, let's get our first official pick out of the way.
Yeah, you said Drummond, and I was looking to see if the 76ers played tonight.
Yeah.
I did not. Wasn't ready for that one. So, all right, first play of the day here for me is going to be the Atlanta Falcons to punt on their opening drive. Price point at BetMGM currently plus 105. This is what I like. When I look at my sims personally, I am extremely close to the market on both side and total. 44.5 being that key number, 44 being that key number. It's just the slightest of lean. But looking at this spot for Atlanta, it's a road game. Things haven't really gone well. They're going to be without the number one receiver, Drake London, playing outdoors in a must-win game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I expect defensive effort early. I expect a little bit of a slower start from Atlanta. So I'm going to be on their first drive to end in a punt here at plus 105. I personally have this number at minus 120. So I think there's a pretty sizable edge here that I wouldn't normally see. I was a little surprised to see this number itself. Other places do have this around even money or minus 105. But again, I think it should be closer really to about 55%, which is minus 122. I think they should not be catching plus money here to punt on the opening drive.
We've got some Mr. Drummond from Different Strokes references being made. Can I just say I miss Will? Like, I don't know who's old enough to remember like the 80s, and Larry, you too. I like the 80s and 90s theme songs that we got from sitcoms. Sorry, Larry. Like the Different Strokes themes. Like, and name an 80s sitcom, and we had
Perfect Strangers.
That's a good one. I mean, Facts of Life. We could go
Perfect
down the
Strangers
list.
90, yeah.
There was.
No, by the way, I was going to point out too, I was just messing around like literally just right now at the ESPN playoff machine, which is like a handy thing to figure out, what like various scenarios. I mean, and I'm not, because I was wondering, is this a must-win game for the Bucs? It's not a must-win game for the Bucs. I mean, they need to win it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong, Mike. It's a huge game for them. But even if the Bucs lose this game and the Panthers win on Sunday, the Bucs and the Panthers, those two head-to-head games they have the final 3 weeks of the season are ultimately going to be like what determines it. I don't think that's going to matter for the Bucs effort. Don't get me wrong. Like, they know that this is a huge game, especially because the Saints have beaten the Panthers before. But I just thought that was kind of interesting that like ultimately it's all going to come down to those two matchups in the final 3 weeks of the season.
Mike, can I ask you something about that Saints game? Because I find that one really interesting. I think I addressed it on Monday as a line I was waiting to tick up from 2.5 to 3. Do you have a take on that game? Is that a stay away? Is it a sharp line, efficient line with Carolina being on the road there?
I actually lean to the over. I'm pretty close on the side, but you could catch the over at least early in the week when we did some of those previews, around 39.5 or 40.5. We talk all the time about 44 being extremely key. 41 is as well, particularly in a dome and controlled conditions. I think Carolina can do enough offensively, but what I was really impressed with, honestly, was the Saints. In a few spots, they've been just competitive enough to really push in some of those games. For me, it would be more focused on a total. I'm very, very close onto the market in terms of the side, though.
Okay. So we got Ben putting up the Bucs minus 4.5, total 44 here. I do want to read this from Wu-Tang 416 before we get to our next pick. And Will, that's going to be you. But he says, good morning, family. Today is a sad day in our family. My cousin Jesse passed away yesterday morning. Rest in peace, cousin Jesse or Jersey. Forgive me. I think it's cousin Jesse. He loved the show and loved hockey. Sad to hear that, Wu-Tang. I know you've been a big part of this show. It didn't occur to me that we also had Jesse being a big part of the show, loving this show as well. But either way, very sorry to hear that. And I do appreciate you sharing that message. It looks like you're getting a lot of warm wishes from our chat, which is very much expected. And I appreciate that. Let's transition back to football. Will Brinson, Baker Mayfield rush yards. It's something for a couple of weeks he put on the shelf, but it appears to be coming back.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting if you look at, let's go back to Monday night. And Justin Herbert for the Chargers, 1 week off of surgery, and the same thing sort of applies to Baker, right? Really banged up, really injured quarterback. And the thought process, I think, normally would be if you're an injured quarterback, you don't want to run because you want to avoid taking hits. It's actually the opposite, because the hits that you can take that are most likely to injure you are in the pocket from a pass rusher coming in there and getting a free shot on you. And so I think when you see a quarterback like Baker who's banged up, or a quarterback like Justin Herbert who's banged up, they're actually more likely to take off on runs, like scrambles, not designed runs, obviously, because they can control when and where they get hit for the most part, right? You get down, you're not going to take those big shots. The last 4 weeks, with these injuries that are piling up and with the need to press and to try and get into the playoffs and to win the division, 6 carries for 42 yards last week, 6 carries for 27 yards the week before, 4 for 19 the week before that, 5 for 39 and a touchdown against Buffalo in that massive game against the Bills, in which Buffalo pulled away late. So he hadn't run at all for 3 weeks, and we've got running Baker back, but I don't think that, just the way that the props are done, and with all the props that have to be calculated, a lot of times you take the average number of rush attempts and rush yards for Baker over the season, and that's how you build out the prop number here. So we got 18.5, which I think is a great number to take the over on, because if Atlanta gets any pressure at all, Baker's going to take off and run. It's a primetime game. It's a home game. It's late in the season. He's activating his legs. He knows how important this game is. He's going to run if he needs to, and if they get any pressure at all. And I think he clears this pretty handily, even if he has to take some knees late.
Yeah, I think this is a really smart play. I'm into this play quite a bit. I think he, injured or not, hobbled or not, I think we've seen Baker lately need and acknowledge the need to run here. I don't know, maybe somebody has him as a first touchdown scorer. Get your stake back in cash if your first touchdown scorer scores second instead. Bet on the pro football or any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game. If you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. We got way more Thursday Night Football picks to come, including your questions. Get your questions in the chat, but I do want to mention we got a couple of SportsLine picks to go over here. One from Matt Severance. It's UT Rio Grande Valley money line -130. Again, that one from Matt Severance. And Minnesota Wild. This is from Jeff Hockman. Minnesota Wild money line at even money. All right, we got to get to more Thursday Night Football picks. We got to get to some theme songs. Aaron Bailey saying Growing Pains, Dukes of Hazzard, Family Ties, Blossom, Webster.
Magnum PI, legendary.
Great American Hero in here. I'd like you to put it in the chat. Put it in the YouTube comments as well. Some of your favorite sitcom theme songs. We don't get those these days. So Mork and Mindy, Alf. Wow. Okay. This is great stuff already. All right. We got to take a quick break and we'll come back with some more picks.
You can't count on accurate expiration dates.
No, that is a rookie mistake.
Or the kindness of strangers. But thanks to CBS Sports, you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount+. All
right, we're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary. Propstarz, let's get your pick in here. We're targeting a Sunday game, and we're targeting a tight end under.
Indeed, yes. New England Patriots, Hunter Henry having a very fine season for New England. Going to go under 42.5 receiving yards for Hunter Henry, facing the Buffalo Bills. Interesting matchup here against the Bills. Big implications, big game here in this AFC East showdown. However, I think it's a wise spot personally to fade Hunter Henry. It's somewhat big number for Hunter Henry. We know that this New England offense has a bevy of pass catchers. He has been fairly consistent, but we do see some pretty spotty production from him. But one thing with this Buffalo defense, they are the most significant run funnel in the NFL this year. I think even New England, who's been fairly pass heavy, is likely to opt heavily to the run here. I don't know how many dropbacks we're going to see from Drake May. And then when he does drop back, the Bills' strength of their defense is covering the middle of the field. And while their defense has been extremely vulnerable, they've been exceptional covering tight ends. This is not a recent trend either. This is something since Sean McDermott has coached this team. Buffalo routinely gives up the fewest yards, surrenders the fewest yards from schematically to tight ends. So difficult matchup. They're a massive run funnel, and Hunter Henry, I think he's performing a little bit above expectations here. I think this is a great spot to fade him under 42.5 receiving yards.
All right, we're fading Hunter Henry under 42.5 receiving yards. I'll go ahead and give out my pick. We'll get to some of your questions, and Larry, I know you have a pick as well. I'm curious, Larry, if you have a guess on a side here. I mean, I know you don't have an official play on the side on the 4.5, but I kind of have a lean, so I'm just curious where some of the others are on that. I'm going to go with Chris Godwin. This is my official play, over 3.5 receptions at -112. I mean, this is interesting because I don't think Cade Otton is playing tonight. And I could be wrong, but he was doubtful as of last night, doubtful as of this morning. So we'll see if that changes. But doubtful usually means you're out. And I do think that matters for, I know he's a tight end. I do think that matters for Chris Godwin because Chris Godwin lines up in the slot, usually occupies the middle of the field, usually gives Baker Mayfield those comfortable targets where if the Atlanta Falcons are blitzing, you got to get the ball out quick. I feel like that's where Chris Godwin lives. And Atlanta Falcons do live with the blitz. They blitzed him a lot last time they played, but they're just traditionally a team this year that blitzes a ton. Now, Mike Evans is back. Ibuka is obviously healthy here. And I think Mike Evans might be like a slower ramp up than people think. I think he'll get a decent complement of snaps, but we've seen from Chris Godwin that he had to get ramped up a little bit. And now he's at a full complement of snaps, basically. I think last week he played almost 90% of the snaps. So route share continuing to rise as well. I think 3.5 receptions is very doable. As far as his yardage is concerned, the reality is I think he's going to be sort of the low area target, the low yardage area target. And that's why I'm kind of leaning towards the receptions versus the yards. But I do like 4 receptions or more. I will say the one watch out is Baker Mayfield isn't slated to get a ton of yards in this game. It's in the very low 2s in terms of his passing yards. His completion prop is 18.5. I think it's slightly juiced to the over, it might be 19.5 in some places. That does give me some pause. But again, I think Chris Godwin is going to be that comfortable target where when Baker has to get the ball out quick, that's where he's headed. Give me 4 receptions or more for Chris Godwin. Will, we were talking pre-show. This was a pick that you kind of liked as well?
Yeah. In my Thursday night betting preview article on CBSSports.com, I had the Baker Rush, a pick that Larry's going to give out as well, and then the Godwin over receptions is my 3-player props. I think, I mean, Pro Football Reference actually has Godwin at like 70% of the offensive snaps, but I mean, he was up from like 62% up to 69%, and I expect him to be up even further. Like this is the full ramp up for him, and I could be wrong on that number, but I mean, but the point being is he's being ramped up by the Buccaneers, and you saw it last week. You know, the first week he's back 5 targets, 3 catches. Last week 8 targets, 5 catches, and should have had a 6th catch. Dropped a ball in the end zone that should have been an easy touchdown. Godwin did, and so I think you're looking at Sia probably something in the range of 8 to 10 targets here. Most of those are going to be, as you point out, underneath options, quick hitters for Baker to get the ball out. Again, we talk about the rushing prop and how Baker doesn't want to get hit. Like if Baker gets hurt to the point that he has to shut it down, and I almost guarantee you when the Bucs are eliminated, Baker's going to have like shoulder surgery, or like we're going to find out he's been playing through 3 different injuries.
Yeah, 100% true.
Like he's going to get something done, some kind of surgery done as soon as the Bucs are eliminated. They know if he's out, they're toast. So they're going to want to get the ball out quickly, you know, dump off to Bucky Irving, dump off to Chris Godwin. He's going to run to avoid contact. And I think this Godwin number is just way too low. It's juiced up in a lot of other spots.
So I'm glad you mentioned something about the snap share, because you're right. My number was referring to dropbacks. So he was close to 90% of the dropbacks. I misspoke there. I'm really glad you corrected me there. Proppy, go ahead.
My primary concern with Tampa Bay pass catchers is ultimately utilization of them. If we're looking at Jalen McMillan and Mike Evans back, they actually used Jalen McMillan quite a bit from the slot last season. Godwin obviously capable of operating from the slot. Typically, that's where he's performed best. And even Mike Evans has been utilized there. So it will be interesting to see how they deploy the wide receivers. I do anticipate Godwin ramping up a bit, but I am very curious what it looks like when these guys are all active and who's playing where.
I'll be curious too to see if the Bucs actually, like, if both McMillan and Evans are both active, because we saw with Bucky Irvin and Chris Godwin, they kind of played games that they were like out of practice. They were kind of questionable. They're going to play, you know, they're full practice, and then Friday Todd Bowles like they're out. Like, and so, and this is a Thursday game. So you only, like, you know, you don't have that full week of action where then he rules them out randomly on a Friday. I wouldn't be surprised at all if one of Evans or McMillan did not play tonight. I think there's a pretty good chance of that, just because, again, you go back to the must-win factor of this. Yes, they really want to win this game. It will help them a lot in terms of chasing down the NFC South and give them some wiggle room against the Panthers in those games. But they know that those 2 games against the Panthers are more important. And so I wouldn't be shocked if one of those guys didn't play tonight.
Big Cheesy in the chat says, if you tail the SportsLine squad ride, he's talking about our group ride, future of Tampa to win the South, this game is huge tonight. So yeah, I mean, all games from here on out are huge. This was our big group ride at the beginning of the season. I mean, obviously it's still looking pretty good, but we certainly didn't expect Tampa to play as poorly as they have over the last handful of games. Let's go to Larry Hartstein. Larry, you've got a pick. A lot of people are asking about Bijan Robinson. They're asking about his rushing and receiving, his rushing, his receiving. Where are you at on Bijan?
Well, Bijan had a very interesting game when these teams met in the season opener. He rushed 12 times for 24 yards, but he caught 6 passes for 100 yards. And I don't think it's going to be that kind of a disparity tonight because the Bucs, you can get some running going on them, especially if they don't get you down right at the line of scrimmage. They've given up a lot of explosives, but I think Bijan is going to be huge in the passing game, as he usually is. London is out. Drake London had 15 targets in that first game. Kyle Pitts is questionable. Everyone is expecting him to play, but he has been Kirk Cousins' favorite target. And even if Kyle Pitts is in and getting a full complement of targets, Bijan Robinson, this is a great matchup for him as a receiver. The Bucs are giving up over 10 yards per attempt on targets to guys coming out of the backfield, which is exactly what Bijan Robinson does. I mean, he absolutely shattered this in the first game. The Bucs are down their leading tackler in Tyke Smith, their third leading tackler in Servassier Dennis. So this is a great matchup for Bijan Robinson, especially if you get a trailing game script. There are going to be a lot of dump offs to the running back.
Larry, I'll go to you first on this question. Is there anybody, I mean, you look at Kyle Pitts receiving and it's like in the low 60s, which is really high. Like I get the Kyle Pitts argument, but that is super high. So I'm certainly not willing to take the over. If anything, I'd be on the under, but again, not willing to do that. Is it just Kyle Pitts and Bijan? Is there anybody else that you'd consider on the Atlanta side in terms of props or overs or yardage?
I mean, I'm staying away from Mooney and Sills and guys like that. Kirk Cousins has been pretty good, throwing to Pitts, throwing to Mooney. Mooney just hasn't been able to catch the ball. But Bijan is the only guy I want.
Go ahead, Proppy.
Yeah, I would offer that this Tampa Bay defense, the last 5 weeks of the season, has given up the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. So they've been extremely generous to opposing signal callers. Yes, 3 of those quarterbacks were Josh Allen, Drake May, Matthew Stafford, 3 top MVP candidates. But this Tampa Bay defense is really cratering right now. I think that this is actually a spot where Kirk Cousins even can have some success.
And Cousins, look, I mean, like bottom line, Cousins, and you may be pointing this out, Larry, he shreds the Tampa defense historically, averages 334.2 passing yards per game in 5 games against the Bucs with 14 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. So he's done very well against this Tampa Bay. And I mean, you could say, well, that's, I think there's something to playing a very specific Todd Bowles defense with Kirk Cousins, just sort of the way he's seeing things and with all his pass catchers out there. I mean, I think, you could definitely write a script where Cousins gets going in the passing game and this turns into one of those Tampa Bay Atlanta shootouts we've seen in the past. But London being out obviously hurts that.
I'd be much more comfortable backing Kirk Cousins than speculating on a Falcons secondary or tertiary option.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's not going to keep me away from doing some sort of reverse correlation with Dylan Drummond, but it does make sense. Larry Hartstein, you had a follow-up as well.
I was just going to say the Bijan prop has gone up a bit since I posted it, so I would go up to 39.5 if anyone is wondering.
I think MGM actually has 37.5 still out there. So if you want to.
Okay, so here's the good news. Dylan Drummond's, I mean, the anytime touchdown on him is a ridiculous ask, but I'm just saying that his receptions prop is in the sweet zone of 2.5. Now, granted, it's juiced heavily to the under, like we're talking 185, but it still makes sense for a negative correlation over yards. It probably in his case would be 40 plus that we'd have to shoot for, and then we'd go under 2.5 receptions, and then we'd do the anytime touchdown. I'm just going to guess that that's going to pay around 30 to 35 to 1, but if somebody wants to try to put that in and let me know, that would be great because that seems like a decent enough candidate. Again, these are sprinkle plays, but Mike, real quick, Gipper's pick says, because you gave out that punt play, he says, I was also looking at no score in the first, I guess he's saying 6 minutes and 30 seconds, obviously of the first quarter, and that's minus 130. Now the juice on that is way different than yours, but any thoughts on no score in the first 6:30?
I lean to there being no score in the first 6:30. I would very much not get in the habit of laying $1.30 in that particular market in this spot. But yeah, I don't hate it. I would offer that if you're really considering that, I would still just take a decent look at a first quarter under just for the entire quarter. But I don't hate it.
Does anybody have a take on Bucky Irving? I mean, if anything, I would actually be on his under, his rushing 60 to 62.5, depending on where you look, or actually 59.5 at FanDuel. I'm worried about Sean Tucker coming in, but you can run on this Falcons defense has actually been a little bit better against the run lately. Anybody have a take on Bucky Irving since he's such a big name?
I would just say on a lot of the Tampa side, there's a lot of mouths to feed all of a sudden. I know Kate Otton's out, but like Bucky Irving, Rashad White, Sean Tucker, all will see the field in this game. You've got Mike Evans, Ibuka, Godwin, and McMillan all out there on the field tonight. I just think there's many mouths to feed, and it'd be very game script dependent.
I think you basically, if you want Bucky props, specifically the reception props to go over, you need the Falcons to engage enthusiastically on offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think there might be some kind of slinging it early and looking pretty good. I think that's something to look at with respect to Kirk Cousins, the Falcons, and maybe some of the pass catchers, probably not named Kyle Pitts. Let's go to first touchdown scores before we get everybody out of here. And maybe if you have any more questions, we can cover those towards the end of the show. But my first touchdown score, I mean, no surprise, Chris Godwin at plus 1,100. You know, the thing I don't like about this is what we just talked about, what Proppy just mentioned, and everybody really, a lot of mouths to feed. We'll see who's actually active. But again, I really like Chris Godwin in the middle of the field, particularly with Kate Otten likely out here. Larry Hartstein, we just talked about him. Talk to me about Bucky Irving.
Yeah, well, it worked for me going with the running back from the favored team with Jahmyr Gibbs last time, or from the guy who seems most likely to score. And yeah, they're going to share it between him and Tucker and Rashad White. But I think Bucky Irving, this is a guy who came back from multiple injuries and has scored in each of the 2 games since he came back. He also scored against the Falcons in the season opener. He can get a touchdown on the ground. He can get a touchdown through the air. I think 7-1, pretty good price.
Mike McClure, talk to me about, wait a minute, Payne Durham?
Payne Durham. Look, I think he's going to be out there. He certainly, we talk about the all the weapons, right, that are going to be on the field. The guy that's lined up as a tight end, essential situations, is not going to get covered. We've seen it a little bit. We saw it week 17 last season with Kate Otten out. Payne Durham is someone that will be on the field. As far as playing his reception props, his yardage, things like that, I just don't think the volume itself will be there. But where I do expect him to be a little bit of a threat would be in the red zone with all the attention, for instance, going to Mike Evans in that red zone. So give me Durham here, 30-1.
All right, we're going to, this is not a surprise at all. I mean, well, this would be like the perfect first touchdown score for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just to like really get off on the right note with Baker scoring the first touchdown. Talk to me about 25-1.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to, when you do a first touchdown score for Thursday Night Football, you have to imagine Al Michaels saying their name as they score. It's like Baker Mayfield, Al, and like Baker scored what was the Tampa's first touchdown against the Bills, running it in. I guess 3 or 4 weeks ago, when he kick-started sort of this rushing spree that he's been on. I mentioned that I think he'll run out of the pocket quickly. You know, this is not something that you're going to see like a designed run down by the goal line. But again, you know, this is a massive game for the Buccaneers. They can really put themselves in a great position to win the NFC South with a mini bye heading into that game against the Panthers next week if they win this game. And I think Baker knows he knows the mini bye is coming. He won't want to, really hurt himself, but I think he will lay it on the line. And I won't be surprised at all if he takes off near the goal line, runs the ball in, scores a first touchdown, 25-1. I love it. Proppies was going to be my alternate if I hadn't gone Baker.
Proppies is a really good one for reasons he's about to give. But Proppy, before you go, I want to remind everybody that me, Mike, and Meg will be on Fantasy Football Today DFS live at 11 o'clock on the Fantasy Football Today YouTube channel, going over the 13-game Sunday slate. So make sure you're over there at 11 o'clock. Get in the live chat. Let us know what questions you have, but also just check out the show, hit the like, just like you do here. Fantasy Football Today DFS at 11 o'clock. Propstarz, go ahead.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts, his underlying metrics this season are extremely impressive, and he's probably the biggest touchdown positive regression candidate in the NFL right now. Just one receiving touchdown. He is the focal point of this Atlanta passing offense. Sans Drake London, he's performed really well in that role as well. So all things considered here, the Bucs have been very generous to tight ends recently, and with his recent usage, I think this is a strong value.
All right. Yeah, I like the Kyle Pitts play. I mean, anytime. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Kyle Pitts is like, I mean, it's like we've been waiting, like, it feels like a decade for Kyle Pitts to break out. And I'm not saying he's breaking out, but like the last 2 games, maybe like the best 2-game stretch of his career. Maybe he's coming into something.
Certainly since his rookie season.
Yep.
100% true. All right. Anything we missed? Let me just look at some last second questions. Okay, here we go. Baker Mayfield passing yards. And I kind of alluded to this a little bit. It's 218.5. There's also a first half bet that people had questions about for you, Mike, but Proppy, I'll go to you first here. 218.5 passing yards. Any thoughts here?
Way too low to fade in my opinion here. If Baker gets pushed whatsoever, he's very capable of going over this. Atlanta's defense is offering very little resistance right now. It's pick your poison versus the Atlanta defense. You can run on them. You can pass on them. They've been very generous, particularly the last 5 weeks. They've cratered, especially their pass defense. So not a spot I'd feel any confidence fading Baker. You're having to hopefully bank on a run-heavy game approach, and if that's the case, I would just take the Bucs to win or take their points or take the spread. So yeah, I'm not going to fade Baker here.
All right. And Mike, talk to me about people are asking about the first half under 21.5, 22.5. Not a huge difference there in terms of those numbers.
Yeah, not for me tonight. Look, I think that when you see the full game total 44.5, your general default's kind of, I'll consider that under because 44 is so key. It's short week, all that, division game. I just think there's so many ways this game can go. I think there's a wide range of outcomes. Like, it would not shock me at all if we're talking about like 17-13 at half, or if we're talking about 7-3 at half. Like, I think both of those outcomes are very much in play with the way these teams play. So I personally do not think it's a good game to look at totals, at least early.
Scott Edwards says, Sia, any last minute Dunhill picks for the win. So I was hoping the first round would be completely over by now. It's actually, I think, ending for the most part. There's maybe a couple of guys with a couple holes left. I don't have any live outrights right now, but part of the reason I didn't look at that is because I only picked 4 outrights. Again, I put it in the SportsLine Discord. I announced one on this show a couple of days ago. That guy is 3 under and tied for 33rd place. So he's still in it, but he's certainly not at the top. That was Richard Sterney. But I put 3 more out in the SportsLine Discord and on Twitter, and 2 of those, one's in first place and one's in 3rd. So I'm not really looking to add to the card when I got guys in that type of position. But I will tell you this, Scott. I will come to tomorrow's BPE Friday show with somebody in mind that I don't already have, because I do have a light card as it is, only 4. So I might end up adding somebody. Let's see how tomorrow goes. And if I have a matchup I like, which I may or may not, I'll put it in the SportsLine Discord. But I will tell you that I will come to tomorrow's show with a live outright in mind and maybe some other picks as well. All right. Speaking of picks, let's get to the recap screen before we get everybody out of here. Chris Godwin over 3.5 receptions, -112. Falcons first drive punt, +105. That first one's from me, and the second one, of course, is from Mike McClure. Bijan Robinson over 36.5 receiving yards, -114. That, of course, is from Larry Hartstein. Will Brinson, Baker Mayfield over 18.5 rush yards, -114. And Propstarz, Hunter Henry under 42.5 receiving yards, -115. That one for Sunday. We go to our SportsLine picks. We've got college basketball, UT Rio Grande Valley money line -130. That one from Matt Severance, and Minnesota Wild's money line +100, even money from Jeff Hockman. Larry, real quick before we sign off. Okay, we'll do the first touchdowns. That's my bad. Chris Godwin +1100. Bucky Irving, Payne Durham 30-1. Baker Mayfield 25-1. Kyle Pitts 14-1. Bucky, by the way, 7-1. Larry, people were asking about the merch, the Early Edge merch. Is there any way, like, what are we doing? Are we doing some giveaways? I know you have a few left over from our event in New York.
It is sitting here, Sia. I'm leaving it to you and the crew and Ben to come up with some kind of structure for distributing it, before like my family and friends, just come in here and start taking on everything. I'm guarding it, but I mean, it's here, and I think it should go to, Early Edge viewers, SportsLine subscribers.
Maybe, yeah, we'll figure something out. Maybe we can tie it. I'll talk to Ben about it and you, Larry. Maybe we can tie it to the YouTube comments or the chat comments or both, something like that. maybe we'll do some sort of giveaway. But I do also want to remind everybody, put your favorite sitcom theme song or songs in the YouTube comments, please. Let's see. I think that's going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. That was a lot of picks for Thursday Night Football, a little bit for Sunday, little college basketball, little NHL. We'll be with you tomorrow at 10 o'clock for BPE Friday. Maybe you'll join us at 11 o'clock for FFT DFS. Either way, big thank you to Will Brinson, Mike McClure, Larry Hartstein, Propstarz, Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, and all of you in the chat. Very much appreciate you all participating, hitting the like button, but more importantly, being vocal in the chat. We'll see you next time. We rest our case.